12 scenarios that could end humanity. Are we prepared? Time and again, Earth has faced scenarios pushing us to the brink of our existence. Whether it's a giant asteroid that slammed into us, wiping out the dinosaurs, or an invisible virus like the one that caused the 1918 influenza pandemic, claiming millions of lives, danger is ever present. But for how long? Will one of these 12 scenarios end life on our blue marble forever? From nuclear war to alien invasions, we're going to explore the possibilities and discuss what we can do to prepare. Are we on the brink of another world war? With global tensions rising and battles erupting all around the world, the possibility of a world war becomes greater and greater every year. Regardless of how things escalate, this war would be unlike anything else we've experienced. Advanced military technologies, the fight for natural resources, and yes, even nukes would all be possibilities.
If you're not up for armed resistance, you'd better get out of the big cities, which are often targets. Head for rural areas, make a survival kit with food, water, and first aid supplies. And just maybe start thinking now about a move to a safe haven. Very far north or very far south? Will it be Greenland, New Zealand, or Antarctica?
A regional nuclear war would kill millions, but it wouldn't end the world. Pull a couple of heavy hitters into the ring, like the US and Russia, and all bets are off. A 300-kiloton bomb explosion will vaporize anything, people included, in a radius of 3 miles. If multiple nukes went off, every explosion would create a giant fireball as hot as the sun's core.
Assuming you survive the blast, seek shelter immediately. For the week or two after, you'll want to hunker down indoors to avoid radioactive fallout. Hiding inside the thickest concrete structure you can find or going underground might protect you from the radiation. But how would you escape the harsh nuclear winter? New Zealand, anyone? It's remote, has a temperate climate, and might just be far enough away from the blast radius to offer a fighting chance.
Yep, I'm talking about aliens, and not because they want to enslave us, like we see in the movies. What if it's because they're hungry for that one thing that even we can't get enough of? Before I tell you what that is, do aliens even exist?
Well, the Drake equation estimates there's a 53 to 99.6% chance that we're the only intelligent life in the Milky Way. Those are some pretty wide error bars, wouldn't you say? So, while the odds of us being truly alone are slim, the vastness of space makes contact a whole other ballgame.
But let's say for the sake of argument that aliens do exist. How would they even get to Earth? Maybe they'd use a futuristic spacecraft, traveling at speeds we can only dream of? Or perhaps they've figured out how to bend the fabric of space-time, using wormholes to traverse unimaginable distances in the blink of an eye. And maybe, just maybe, they'd pop by because they're hungry for energy. A Type 2 alien civilization, on the Kardashev scale, could potentially have a Dyson sphere, a hypothetical megastructure that completely encompasses a star and captures a large percentage of its power output. They might be looking for new sources, like our sun. And if our sun goes, well, you can say goodbye to virtually all life on Earth. Chapter 4. Giant asteroid. A truly massive 96-kilometer wide asteroid, like the one that wiped out the dinosaurs, would finish us all off. Shrink it down to 12 kilometers wide and it might leave a few of us standing.
The site of impact would get very, very hot, instantly vaporizing anything within a several hundred-mile radius. Tsunamis, taller than skyscrapers, would rise from the oceans, devastating coastal regions and reaching miles inland.
Billions of us would die. The impact would spawn an enormous dust plume engulfing the globe. It would block out the sun, plunging the Earth into a perpetual twilight.
Now, chances of this happening are small, but if it happens, what should you do? Well, scientists tell us an underground bunker stocked with enough supplies to outlast the worst of the impact's aftermath would be the best option.
If you can't swing that, at least stay away from the impact zone and clear of coastal areas susceptible to tsunamis. Chapter 5, Supervolcano. Just like a super large asteroid could take us all out, so could a supervolcano.
200 million years ago, Earth was hit by a supervolcano, which wiped out 75% of the species on Earth, in an event known as the Permian-Triassic extinction event. It was so strong, it ripped apart North America from Africa and plonked the Atlantic Ocean bang in the middle.
And did it stop with just one massive eruption? No. For 600,000 years, the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province, or CAMP, erupted again and again. Lava spewing from fissures in the Earth's crust covered everything. Volcanic ash choking the atmosphere rained down, blanketing the landscape in a thick layer of debris.
But you won't believe the thing that got us. It was pollution. CO2 and carbon levels skyrocketed, causing sweeping environmental destruction, acidifying the oceans, and leading to a runaway greenhouse effect.
So, is there a massive eruption waiting to happen today? Below the surface of Yellowstone National Park lies a giant caldera, a cauldron-like feature formed by the collapse of land following a volcanic eruption. We don't think it will erupt anytime soon, but in the distant future, it just might. Chapter 6, Zombie Apocalypse. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Zombies, really? But hear me out.
The cordyceps fungus, a fascinating and terrifying example of nature's dark side, creates zombified ants, growing around their brains and taking over their nervous system, turning them into mindless drones. Could this jump over to humans and create a bona fide human zombie?
Well, scientists suggest that our body temperature, a toasty 37 degrees Celsius or 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, is simply too high for the fungus to survive.
Big cities like New York, London, and Hong Kong, with their dense populations and interconnectedness, would be the first major targets of an event like this. And due to the cordyceps spreading via spores, carried on the wind or through contact, it would be incredibly difficult to avoid getting infected.
The zombies could slowly take over major metropolitan areas, overwhelming healthcare systems and plunging civilization into chaos.
Yeah, that's right, another pandemic. If you're watching this, you were lucky enough to survive the COVID-19 pandemic. But will you survive the next one?
Our world is changing, and well, for the worse. In the next few decades, the probability of a novel disease outbreak will grow 3 times due to population growth, changes to our food systems, and closer contact between humans and animals.
Scientists predict another pandemic, potentially even more devastating than COVID-19, will hit us within the next 59 years. A new virus, perhaps one we've never encountered before, could be a more dangerous killer. It might mutate faster, outpacing our ability to develop effective vaccines and treatments.
Instead of 7 million people who died from the virus, it could be tens of millions. Chapter 8, Synthetic Biology.
In a secret lab somewhere, could someone create a virus or super bacteria that will wipe out the human race? Imagine a super virus that spreads silently, carried on the breath of an unsuspecting host.
It leaves its victims asymptomatic for weeks, allowing it to spread undetected like wildfire through a parched forest, only to turn deadly after that prolonged gestation.
Due to how much the world travels and how much smaller everything has become, the virus can spread more quickly and reach more people.
Now, that is something that could wipe out humanity. Chapter 9, Global Warming.
What if the average temperature rose 4 degrees Celsius or 40 degrees Fahrenheit? Well, it doesn't sound like a huge deal, but a 4 degrees Celsius or 40 degrees Fahrenheit rise in temperature would destroy life on Earth as we know it.
Sea levels would rise 0.5 meter to 1 meter, or 1.6 feet to 3.2 feet, and maybe even more by the year 2100. Cities like New York, London, and Venice would see extreme flooding, displacing millions and submerging iconic landmarks.
Food production would go haywire. We'd see heat waves in the tropics and frequent high-intensity tropical cyclones. Our coral reefs would be destroyed.
The water would keep rising in the coming centuries. In a world like this, humanity might not go extinct, but Earth would only be able to support just 1 billion people. Chapter 10, Oceanic Anoxia.
Okay, that sounds bad, but what happens if it suddenly gets harder to breathe? Ocean oxygen concentrations are declining today, a trend driven by climate change and pollution.
Are we in danger of an oceanic anoxia event, a period in Earth's history when vast stretches of the ocean become depleted of dissolved oxygen?
After all, it did happen 450 million years ago,